Route 66, the Mother Road, a path that has carried countless travelers from Chicago to Santa Monica, weaving through small towns, vast deserts, and windswept plains. A symbol of freedom, adventure, and escape. But there's another side to this roadone that few dare to explore. Behind the cheerful diners and neon signs are darker places, where the veil between this world and the next is dangerously thin. Places where the past refuses to stay buried. Tonight, we'll journey into the shadows of Route 66, where ghostly whispers call out to the living, and not everyone makes it to the end of the road. Our first stop takes us just outside Chicago, Illinois, to a quiet stretch of road near the town of Justice. It's here that the most infamous ghost of Route 66 is said to wander, Resurrection Mary. Her story begins in the 1930s at the Willowbrook Ballroom, a once bustling dance hall filled with the music and laughter of a bygone era. But that laughter was silenced by tragedy. Mary was young, beautiful, full of life. She spent her nights at the ballroom, spinning across the floor until the early hours of the morning. But one cold winter night, her world came to a sudden and violent end. Accounts vary. Some say she was struck by a car while walking home. Others claim she was murdered, her lifeless body left near the gates of Resurrection Cemetery. Mary never left that stretch of road. For decades, drivers have reported picking up a young woman in a flowing white dress. She climbs into the car, silent and cold, as if the very air around her is frozen. When the driver reaches Resurrection Cemetery, she points to the gates and whispers, "This is where I need to go." And then she vanishes, without a sound, without a trace. But it's not just the disappearing act that haunts those who encounter her. It's her eyes dark, hollow, and filled with something no living person can understand. They say you can feel her gaze long after she's gone. And if you're not careful, you might find yourself compelled to follow her straight into the cemetery. The El Trovatore Motel, whispers in the night. Next, we travel west, deep into the Arizona desert, where the sands stretch endlessly under a moonlit sky. In the town of Kingman stands the El Trovatore Motel, a relic of Route 66's golden age. Its neon sign still flickers faintly, a beacon for weary travelers. But those who check in here often find they're not alone. Built in the 1930s, the El Trovatore was once a lively stopover for road trippers. But over the years, it became a place of despair and death. A young bride took her life here on her honeymoon, abandoned by her groom. A man was found dead in one of the rooms, his face frozen in terror. And even now, the motel is said to echo with their final moments. Guests have reported hearing soft whispers in the dead of night, like voices coming from the walls. Doors slam shut on their own. Shadowy figures drift past the windows, even when no one is there. But the most chilling accounts come from Room 11. It's here that the bride is said to linger, her sorrow etched into the air like a scar. One traveler woke up to find her standing over him, her veil still draped over her face. She didn't speak, but her presence filled the room with unbearable sadness. He left the motel that night, refusing to look back. Others haven't been so lucky. For some, the whispers grow louder. The shadows creep closer, and they say if you stay too long, you'll never leave. The St. James Hotel, a room you should never enter. Our next stop takes us to Cimarron, New Mexico, where the Wild West collides with the supernatural. The St. James Hotel is a historic landmark along Route 66, a place where outlaws, gamblers, and gunslingers once gathered. But its violent history has left scars that time can't heal and spirits that refuse to leave. Built in the 1870s, the St. James Hotel has seen more than its fair share of bloodshed. Its walls are riddled with bullet holes. Its halls echo with the footsteps of men long dead. But one room in particular stands out. Room 18. It's locked, always, and for good reason. Legend has it that Room 18 is home to the spirit of a gambler who was murdered in cold blood. His presence is so strong, so malevolent, that no one dares to enter. Guests who've stayed in the rooms nearby report hearing furniture being dragged across the floor, loud banging, and guttural growls. Some have even seen the shadow of a man pacing back and forth, as if trapped in his own personal hell. The staff warn guests to steer clear of room 18, but some can't resist the temptation. They've tried to open the door, only to find it sealed shut as if an invisible force is holding it closed. Those who've ignored the warnings and stayed nearby often wake up gasping for air, a crushing weight on their chest, as if something is trying to pull them into the room. As we near the end of our journey, the road takes us to the Mojave Desert in California Place, where silence reigns and the stars stretch endlessly across the night sky. But under this seemingly peaceful expanse lies something unexplainable. They call them the ghost lights. Travelers have reported seeing glowing orbs hovering above the desert sands. These lights seem to move with purpose, darting across the landscape before vanishing into thin air. Some believe they are the spirits of miners who perished in the unforgiving wilderness, their souls forever trapped in the Mojave's endless expanse. But others claim these lights are something far darker, harbingers of doom. They say if you follow them, they'll lead you deep into the desert, far from the safety of the road. And once you're lost, you'll never find your way back. One witness described the lights appearing out of nowhere, floating alongside his car as he drove through the desert. He stopped to take a closer look, but as he stepped out, they rushed toward him, filling him with an overwhelming sense of dread. He ran back to his car and sped away, but he swears he could still feel their presence following him. Route 66 is more than a highway. It's a tapestry of stories of dreams, of tragedy, of the unknown. But some of those stories don't have endings. They linger, waiting to be told, waiting to be experienced. If you ever find yourself traveling this haunted road, remember, it's not just the journey that matters. It's what follows you after the journey ends. The road never forgets, and neither do they.